Who is making the games that are valued most in the India gaming market right now? Every gaming company you've mentioned so far, those have largely been Western developers, just big, large global game developers. What is the local Indian game development scene like, or the regional game development scene? And how much of the audience is captured by games that are developed by local developers?
So it's sad, honestly. Like, there is only one public listed gaming company in India called Nazara Games. They also focus on casual gaming and all that part of it. So within India, there's not even a single studio which must be having a very high percentage of users specifically towards the high spending games. And if I want to even talk about the Indian ecosystem in terms of development, there might be a lot of developers, no doubt about it, but they might be working for other companies outside India. There are very, very few Indian origin-based companies who have a large percentage of market share for active gamers, not about casual gamers. I don't know about casual gamers because any company which has no public facing can have 1 billion downloads. We cannot know about it. But in the pro gaming scene, there is not even a single Indian company which has any significant percentage of market share. There are two companies which are emerging slowly, like their game development has been for 4-5 years, I guess, and they have a lot of funding. So it's rising, but as such, there are no games made from India for India at this stage into the pro gaming league side of things.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I am aware of some games more on the mobile casual side that are based in India and focused more on content for that market. But that's very interesting because I think India, going back to maybe conceptions or misconceptions about India, India is definitely regarded, I think, globally as one of the fastest growing hubs for like tech talent and hiring well-qualified tech talent. So, I mean, it jumps out as an opportunity for like regional game development in India when you think about what the talent looks like in the region and how fast India is leveling up as a tech hub, as well as how many gamers and how fast that is growing. Would you agree with that? Do you think regional game studios in India are an interesting business model for the future, or do you think there's still reasons that should be avoided or is risky?
I feel that definitely it's an opportunity because Indian talent is very cheap compared to the West. And it has been proven in the overall tech industry that if you are hiring Indians even abroad, they are doing more quality work compared to others, or even if you are outsourcing. I'll give example of Crafton itself. So they based and set up a whole company in India, a separate entity, and everyone employed in it are Indians. So there is definitely a lot of scope where a company can just start a subsidiary or something very specific just from India, people hired from India, and they can develop a game from India and go and launch it. The problem I feel is that it's very competitive. Free Fire, Call of Duty, PUBG, like these are the biggest spaces in terms of users. And these three big companies have so much money to pump in that the other smaller players will have a very tough time if they don't have the enough money to market. So if you have to come into India, there is no lacking of talent, no doubt about it. But you will have to invest a lot more in brand building and in terms of marketing because there are very big players already sitting in. I guess that's a barrier for new development companies starting from India. They don't have enough money to compete with the big sharks, and that's why they never come off.
Got it. Thinking about other maybe conceptions that I have about bringing games to India on that same note, Spidey, how important is it for international developers outside of India? How important is localization and culturalization? My prejudice, I guess, coming in is that you can actually bring a more westernized product, not even localized to Hindi, bring English language ads for a game market in India. It sounds like what you're saying about the current gaming trends and the games that are popular in India are in line with that. But what would you recommend to English first or developers outside of the region for bringing their games to India for localization and culturalization?
Yeah, so first of all, there is still a big opportunity in this market because if I just want to talk about India as a whole in past 5 years or in the past decade, then the feeling of nationality, the feeling of being an Indian, a proud Indian, has increased a lot because of government efforts. And everyone is talking about make in India, made in India. So if someday a game comes out of India, it will have a very big boost compared to any game coming outside India, because people have that feeling of proud nationality. And if it's based on culture from India, till date, there has been no game which is based on Indian lore. There is tons of Indian lore which hasn't been explored till date. But when it comes, then Indian people will definitely relate to it. So now if I want to come to the language part, then I'll come back to Crafton, BGMI, because that's the biggest game. Since they brought the Indian version in, they have got into the local languages like Hindi. Now there is audio, text, everything in Hindi. Also other major languages in India. So these bigger studios have started to get into Hindi and other languages when they are making games which are localized. But if the game is on a global scale, no one cares about Hindi, even if they have a bigger user base.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I was at GDC last week, and I wish I remember the name of the game, but I played this little roguelike game where the whole premise of the game was based on playing as Indian deities. I should find it. Maybe we can drop it in here. It was really cool. Maybe you want to check it out. It's called Yuda. I got their tag, but it's based on Indian folklore. It's a roguelike based on Indian folklore. So if you're interested, there you go. There's a game to check it out.
Yes.
And it's an Indian native team. Yeah, it's an Indian native team.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
cool. I'll definitely go and check it.
Awesome.